What are the chances of all the times and places we could have been born?
Yeah.
We're here, light years from Earth, going about our lives.
Every time the punch clock peals, a worker earns his meals.
What are you talking about?
Sorry, I thought you were quoting It's a Wonderful Directorate.
Alright, you bastards. You want existential? Is that all I am now? Existential horror man? Fine. What am I if not a peer pressure-ridden, crowd-pleasing, trend-chasing clown? I'll deliver. Hope you're ready. The Outer Worlds is a 2019 survival horror game that deals with true horror. Amnesia? Baby's first clickbait video. PT? Kojima doesn't even do horror games. Fuck off. This will send a chill down your spine and make your hair stand on end.
Thank the architect, Bertolt's back! Thank the architect, Bertolt's back! Thank the
A nightmare, corporate-led hellscape in space, where the value of life is lower than the cost of disposing of their corpse. Where people are afraid to accept life-saving medication because it was made by their employer's competitor.
Could be you're trying to test me. See if I'm gonna violate company policy.
A jolly universe where bartenders, after a full day of hearing other people's problems, would end their day. Permanently. If not for that also being a breach of contract. But is it good?
Yes, I can see you. Come here and talk to me. Face the intercom.
9 years after Obsidian took the world by storm with the release of Fallout New Vegas, and having freed themselves out of the Bethesda mines and were now free to play around in the Microsoft mines, along with Bethesda, it was high time to try capturing lightning in a bottle once more, and God knows, they tried their best. The Outer Worlds isn't merely like New Vegas. It is New Vegas, from the retro-futuristic setting, with Art Deco elements, open-world RPG core, a focus on branching paths and clever dialogue, anti-corporate undertones, well, overtones, companions, and bland, forgettable shooting made interesting by ripping off Max Payne. So with seemingly every piece in place, and actually implemented to at least some degree, unlike other projects, and with the sequel being stocked on shelves as I speak, why is this game still so niche? You play as some schmuck woken up by Rick, of Rick and Morty fame, from cryogenic sleep aboard the starship The Hope, a colonizing vessel hosting a couple 100,000 frozen colonists and also a deep, dark secret. This isn't an official rescue operation though. Rick broke quite a few rules to get you out of there, and he plans to do the same with the rest. But it's difficult as he ran out of the thawing juice and needs around 165,000 adhesive, 200,000 Abraxo cleaner, and 20 typewriters to make some more. So you're signed up on the adventure of a lifetime, kid. Strap in. We're going to Terra 2, where you're supposed to meet the great spacefaring adventurer Alex Hawthorne. He will get you around the Halcyon system so you can procure the necessary materials and Strap in. We're going to Terra 2, where you're gonna find a completely unmanned ship that you'll use to get yourself around the Halcyon system and procure the necessary materials. Just tell the robot at the door, you're Alex Hawthorne. It's a technicality. Don't worry about it. Listen, I keep saying this and it's losing all meaning, but I'm old. I played games that looked like this, and I was immersed. The forests of Gothic are more realistic to me than the forests in real life. So I may be biased, but I think you'll agree with this one as well. From a distance, the game is just pleasant to look at, especially outside. There's some amazing vistas and locations for you to explore, and they start immediately. The game is just grounded enough to be conventionally beautiful, while also just alien enough to work the imagination. But unfortunately, this one doesn't just end there. Getting close to objects can reveal some questionable textures. Some get really bad. The insides, for the most part, are very bland. Factory, ship, house, shop, government building, it's all very samey. I'm kinda tired of post-space travel sci-fi that looks like my dad's workshop. Be more creative. I wouldn't even call it bad, just kinda lazy and uninteresting. There's also a problem with the lighting. Some rooms get really dark, even if the door is open and they have the lights turned on. There's a noticeable lack of background storytelling. Sure, when you're in a corpo hub, or even one that's being slowly taken over by a corporation, you can tell.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled advertisement for the following story. Do you have what it takes to defend your corporate township from the dangers of alien wildlife and the unemployed?
A lot of the feel of the universe you get from the news bulletins and dialogue with the characters. In New Vegas, or even Fallout 3 and 4, Those were some of the best elements of those games. You just finding stuff, telling a story without words. Here, it's mostly just after the fact entries in a log somewhere. The writing's good, and I'll talk about that more later, but it's a video game. I want to find stuff and make my own mind up, not just read about it on a screen within a screen. A major complaint that I've had was NPCs staring at me like they're lobotomized, but the clever bastards preempted it.
So, you lack the distinctive worker gaze. Usually either a deadening behind the eyes, or in some rare cases, a wild-eyed frenzy, like a trapped animal.
But I will, anyway. It's an RPG where you can talk yourself out of most quests with any outcome. It's hard to get immersed when everybody's a lizard man that only blinks when they remember they're supposed to. I've heard some incurable, simp-level defenses of this, like this ain't Bethesda. Obsidian is borderline an indie studio, but I don't care about ambition or potential. Either make me forget that I'm talking to a collection of ones and zeros, or stick to CRPGs. Never mind. It's not as bad as Andromeda, but still noticeable and it breaks immersion. The sounds are much of the same. On the surface, the ambience, especially during exploration, is really good. You can immerse yourself quite a bit, well, if you're not doing this. But again, it's surface level. They have a habit of telling you how to feel through music.
Stop. No. Spreading the truth is the only way to combat the board's poisonous campaign of propaganda against their people. Before all this, I was a writer for MSI's product catalog. It was my purpose to spread awareness of Saltuna in its various forms.
I get it's a parody and maybe it's intentional, but if that's the case, it makes the tone issue even more jarring. The Outer Worlds is very much a joke. It takes the anti-corpo late-stage capitalism rhetoric to the absurd, and it's mostly played for laughs.
At Spacer's Choice, we care about your health and emotional well-being. That's why we put Martin through 6 years of vendor school, only to make him wear this hat.
But then you would read about a company testing Raptidon venom on its employees to figure out how much they can use in products, and the limit isn't when they get sick. Or you get the companion's backstory and it's her dad, dying with a smile on his face from being overworked. You either build me up and then make me feel bad for laughing at the tragedy, or you spoof the shit out of it. Playing sad violin music over this guy's sob story isn't doing it for me. The best element here has to be the dialogue and the voice acting. Most of it is played sincerely, even when the conversation itself is insane.
I hear boots out there. Wait, can rats wear boots? Get away!
Sometimes a character can go over the top, but even then it's that good ham.
Please, you have to help me get my little Tucker back. He ran away and is going to get himself killed. Oh, I just know a Raptidon is melting him with acid as we speak.
Most of the immersion breaking is again gonna be coming from the fluoride stare and bad automated lip syncing, but I do have another complaint in this department. The writing is mostly really good, but you can also tell we're in a post-Joss Whedon universe. There's a lot of quips.
Before you kill your prey, you ever say any snappy one-liners? Like, nothing personal, or maybe, you messed with the wrong hunter.
Animals can't understand language, Felix.
There's a lot of bits that completely pull me out.
Beginning playback now.
What? Oh, is this on? Oh, it's on right now. Oh, blast. Hello?
This is the kind of joke I would make when complaining about these types of scenes. Just acknowledging it doesn't make it good or funny. There's just a lot of comedy shorthand in here that has gotten very old. I'm gonna preface this by saying that I'm one of those weirdos that liked Skyrim a lot. And this is just on Steam, after I actually bought it. Twice. Thanks, Todd. It's also purely vanilla. Well, I did have the unofficial patch. I'm a purist, not insane. Never cared much for mods on anything, really. And this isn't a knock on New Vegas or Morrowind. I played the shit out of both of those games as well, and I do think they're technically better video game ideas, but they do have some barriers to entry. So why am I boring you with this? It's to show that, at least in some people's opinion, my standards are very low when it comes to Bethesda-style RPGs. Opening that first crypt in Skyrim got me hooked immediately. So technically, that would mean that The Outer Worlds, being a newer game in the genre, with a high degree of polish and the devs having full freedom over it, since it was before the Microsoft era, this should have been a blowout. And yet, it wasn't. The game has been fighting me every step of the way, and I genuinely haven't finished it until recently for this video. So what's the problem? Without being one of those, it's like Skyrim, with guns. People, I still think Skyrim is the pinnacle of exploration in a first-person game. Even when the game was shallow and a bit bare bones, this is something everybody that played it experienced. I have to go to this town for a quest, but on the way, an orc stands in your path. Look here, stranger. I am an old orc, and I need you to give me a warrior's death. Okay, so you fight him and lose. You reload, and this time you win, but uh-oh, a guard saw that.
Stop! You violated the law.
So now you're in Riften jail together with Tiggles McCatface. Khajiit has a proposition for you, my friend. So apparently there's this chest in this cave, in these woods, on this planet. And if I tag along, he's willing to share. So you hit T to wait 2 days and you're out, but oh, Tiggles McCatface got out 2 hours earlier, so he's in Winterhold now. But I haven't discovered Winterhold yet, so I have to walk all the way there first, since I won't be caught dead paying this guy for his taxi service. Go get a real job, you fucking leech! You get the idea. You forgot what you were doing around 2 steps in, and got lost in the world. So how does the Outer Worlds hold up? Not sure how to put this into words, but it feels off, like it's incomplete. You might see a cave, if you're lucky. It looks very nice when you get in. There's maybe a locked chest, and some pants for you on a chair. Thanks for coming. Make sure you stop by the gift shop on your way out. The map itself is very broken, since it's a bunch of separate areas interconnected with loading screens. In other games, you can be walking around in the sun, and when did it start snowing? You don't really get that here. The biomes are clearly separated on their own planet. Most of the locations you can visit are shown on the map, and there's a very high chance you're gonna get there by just talking to everyone in the initial hub. Someone will send you on a quest there. A lot of the time, you can get quote-unquote punished for going there too fast. You can argue this is good design, you can find something for a quest before you even know about it, and most of the quests have different possible outcomes depending on the order you do the steps in. But depending on your autism, you could accidentally cut 15 out of a 20-step quest by going to the quote-unquote wrong place to start with. They do fix one of my pet peeves. If you can get to a hard-to-reach spot, there's probably at least one chest there, so you don't feel like a stooge. But the problem is that what's in the box is usually boring. This is a bit of a tangent from exploration, but it's part of it. Everything in the Outer Worlds is streamlined. You have 2 armor slots and 4 weapon slots, 3 types of ammo, weapon and armor parts for fixing, and weapon mods for crafting. So then why are there also 1 million types of food and drink, respectively, taking up my inventory space instead?
But Cake, you could just not pick those up.
Sorry about that. Anyway, yes, food and drink is only useful in hardcore mode, but I digress. Even with the inventory being streamlined, you're still always gonna be over-encumbered just by picking up everything that's not bolted down. And they knew this since you have a whole bunch of perks just to increase carrying capacity. So they didn't really solve anything and might have actually made things worse. With less things to find, there's less things to be excited for, and thus less reasons to explore everything. Sure, it was annoying needing 1 more adhesive to finish your Futa Bauset statue, but that just meant your eyes lit up every time you'd find it from that point on. Here it's just, oh look, light ammo. So let's talk about the gear itself. 2 armor slots sounds good. Less things to autistically min-max with their shit Borderlands big numbers go cringe system, by the way, but it also means that you always look like the Space Marine from Doom, with very few exceptions. It's not that important, the game is first person only, but it's just another thing that they took out. I wouldn't be able to see my Pixie Princess drip in gameplay, but I know in my head that it's enhancing the shame these marauders are feeling. The weapons are also affected by the looter-shooter system. If you have a weapon that has higher DPS, You put that on 99% of the time, and they also commit a capital sin. There's legendary items in this game. They're all shiny and glowy. You really want to use them, but you can't. They don't do shit. They only have a unique name, and a lot of the time they have worse stats than a regular weapon of the same type. Combat in this game is about what you'd expect, if you don't expect much. It's not bad, as long as you don't go melee. Most of the time, you just hold the left click until you don't need to anymore, with some caveats. With pistols, you don't hold, you click repeatedly instead. It might seem minor, but it does make pistols less viable, because our gimmick of the day is vague head trauma related time slowing ability. This is their legally different VAT system, except this time you can't blame RNG for missing their head point blank. Personally, I use this as God intended, 2 ammo before having to reload. In other games, everything moves in slow-mo, but your actions register in real time, so you can just shoot a whole squad in the head during the timer. But here, they went with the Galaxy Brain move of also slowing you down to a crawl during it. For the longest time, I thought it was just all bad and worthless, until I realized the timer basically only goes down when you shoot, so it's essentially just a crutch to aim better during combat. It doesn't change the fact that it's slow and clunky, and it feels bad to use. There's a distinct lack of enemy variety. Wow. Dog. Wow. Robot. Mantis, Spitty Dog, and Dude. You're gonna face them constantly, and they level up together with you, so they never become trivial. On high difficulty, they also turn into bullet sponges, especially if you don't take account of the damage type. Sure, your companions keep banging on about it, but I haven't found any shock damage weapons yet. Since we're here, might as well also talk about the difficulty, or lack thereof. It's the classic. The higher the difficulty, the more HP and damage everything has and does. I played on hard because I'm a masochist, and you die really fast. Your asthma inhaler is also very slow, and you usually die while using it. It seemed like a good idea at first, since unlike other Bethesda RPGs, you can't just open your inventory and scarf down 150 apples to heal. Instead, you can equip up to 4 consumables to use together with your inhaler for some extra stats, but these slots are tied to your medicine stat. Which brings me to the RPG mechanics. I don't like the leveling system. In a lot of games like these, you level up by doing a thing. This is smart in many ways, and let me elaborate. In the Outer Worlds, you're capped at level 30 and you get 10 points per level. You can get every substat in a category up to level 50 simultaneously, but after that you need to level them up individually. The first problem is that level 30 isn't hard to achieve, and you will get there way before finishing the game, especially if you do a lot of side quests. Together with the pittance of points you get per level, it means you can only max out 1 or 2 substats by the level cap. I understand this is their way of locking people into a build, since a lot of mouth breathers, discernible RPG enjoyers, have called unlimited leveling overpowering and too much like a power fantasy. I would take these people's opinion into consideration from behind one-way looking glass, but here's an idea. Give me the fucking option. The second problem is that I don't know what these substats do on my first playthrough. Pickpocketing is inside of stealth, which makes sense, but stealth is ass, so why would you? Most of the charisma perks only affect combat. You'll put points into dialogue and then figure out 15 hours in that there's a lot of combat that you can't avoid, especially in between areas. It never makes the game unplayable, but it does make it even more annoying. You can respec at the bench on your ship, but that's a crutch. It's also basic. Plus 15% of this, minus 20% of that. Give me something interesting. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. This is one of the most basic and important things to get right in an RPG, and they all fucking get it wrong. It doesn't get better. The other perks are the ones you pick individually. You get 1 every other level for a total of 15. I'll preface this by showing you some perks from New Vegas, an obscure video game made by the same developer. Tame the wildlife and ride it into battle. Eat friend and foe alike, with a smile. With the Mysterious Stranger perk, your dice are always loaded. Or maybe your enemy only rolls snake eyes. And last but not least, be canonically racist.
Outman. Kunaman mad. He kill all white legs. You talk. You stop.
Isn't that a battle of laughs? I'm sure the Outer Worlds is even oh no. Ooh. These aren't handpicked either. They're all awful. I'm not calling them weak, I'm calling them insanely uninspired. It's even more insulting with the flaw system. Don't you want to lose a bunch of stats just from having Sam in the party? Be afraid of robots today, and will include plus 20% weak spot damage on a full moon. So here we are, the creme de la creme, the point of a New Vegas spiritual successor.
We are friends, but them who push me end up dead.
They're also boring. This is slowly turning into a New Vegas review, but in New Vegas, if you didn't have the stats for a choice, you'd get the stupid option to enhance the point that you don't know what you're talking about. It had flavor and was always fun to pick, just to see. Here, if you don't have the stats for it, it's just grayed out. They're also just a means to an end. A lot of them don't progress the conversation, and even when they do, they don't change the outcome outside of failure or success.
Carry on.
I won't get too much into the quests themselves outside of the main story, but know that there are branching paths to a certain extent, and you do get a bunch of ending slides based on what side quests you do take on and their outcomes. I will also highlight one side quest as an example. You get a mission from Velma here to find the whereabouts of her helper. That eventually leads you to a dilapidated house on the Fart planet. As you go in, the door is locked behind you, but the nice man at the door will be happy to let you out after you join his family for dinner. It's being prepared as you speak by his loving wife. Gourmet. You can talk to the man's children while you wait.
When we got sick one time, he brought those candies to make us well again. And they worked. Now we feel better than ever.
You got a funny way of putting things. I used to be good with words.
You can also explore the rest of the house. Just don't go on the top floor. Oh, they're cannibals. Okay, so that's already cliché, but that's fine. There's a mission like that in Red Dead 2, where you can tie up one of the cannibals and take her over behind the house, where there's a mysterious hole. She'll start bawling her eyes out and having a mental breakdown.
Please, no, please, I'm sorry. Not here. Mama!
This is completely hidden and something that only a psycho would try out, but it's in there. You can do a bunch of interesting shit, just for flavor. What does the Outer Worlds do? You can lockpick the door on the second floor, jump out the window and tell Velma about it. You can confront the family, pass a speech check to let them go about their business and tell Velma about it. Or you can fail a speech check to kill them all with prejudice and then tell Velma about it. And believe it or not, this is one of the more interesting quests. I haven't finished everything in this game, my brain just wouldn't allow it anymore, but I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say 95% of the quests, including the main story campaign ones, are fetch quests. Even when the premise is interesting, it ends up being just go meet this uninteresting character, he'll send you on a trek to recover the remains of another uninteresting character. Go here, kill that, get this, do that, come back, oh, I forgot, you need to go there too, get this, hide that, I'm done.
It's like one of those stuffy art gallery pieces. Looks okay from far off, but once you get close, you realize it's just some mismatched shit everyone's agreed to overpay for.
I didn't know where else to put this since they interface with pretty much every single mechanic. Companions, for the overwhelming majority of the time, are fine. There's 6 in total, and no, you can't sleep with them. They also shame you for it in the sequel's trailer.
And no, you can't sleep with them.
As if admitting to missing a core mechanic of the genre makes it better. There's flavors for every type of RPG enthusiast. Parvati for the 95 daddy type, Vicar Max for nihilists, Ellie for if you just don't give a fuck, Felix for the ass-kissing middle manager type, Nyoka for the black queens out there, and Sam for degenerates. They're all very well written and have plenty of uses in gameplay as well. They contribute in fights by dying in every single one of them on hard difficulty, but the good news is that they die permanently on hardcore. They also have abilities that, aside from Felix, who contributes 80% of the game's comedic relief, have very long animations that cannot be skipped in the options menu. Some of them are cool, but a lot of the perks make them reset and have shorter cooldowns, so have fun pausing the game every 2 seconds to see Nyoka puncture another hole in her liver. Companions also contribute points to your character just by being in the party, but these don't count on your actual character sheet, so they're only for passing some speech checks. This can also cause problems later when you switch them around. Having them around is fun though, since every combination has personalized banter that's also funny and well written.
You picked a path for yourself and never looked back. According to the board, what you did was impossible.
The board also claims it's impossible to live on Monarch, yet here I stand. They believe gainful employment necessary to one's survival. I believe the board can kiss my ass.
It's a good way of dumping exposition about the universe and themselves without you having to sit there, clicking every single dialogue option one by one. Very immersive. Too bad they also ruin immersion by just sitting there, staring at you while they do it, since moving forward comes with the risk of them forgetting what they were talking about. My only gripe with them is that their companion quests, while well written, are also fetch quests. I'll use Parvati as an example. You have to take her to the Groundbreaker a couple hundred times to meet with Mechanic Lady. They're very fond of each other, as it turns out. It's very endearing, in a High School Musical sort of way, just lacking the high school. Or the music. She wants to prepare the perfect date with her, so you have to carry her around the entire Halcyon system to get soap, cookies, and dresses.
Aren't those cakes just about the cutest little things you ever seen?
You also insultingly find out through this questline that her interest in Junlei is purely asexual.
You know I'm not interested in physical affection.
And definitely not a case of you being so romantically viable that you turn women gay. You also find out that your character, as an extension of you, is about as sexually interested and active as a panda. Or the Japanese. So let me get this straight, no pun intended. My shy nerdy companion can have an ungodly, asexual lesbian love affair with a greasy Asian lady, but I can't even sleep with the robot. You're on fucking notice, Obsidian. The last nail in the coffin is bafflingly the story. For all its faults, The Outer Worlds is, as I've said before, well written and one of the rare examples of video games parodying the status quo.
You would never ask if you knew what it's like in here. I mean, why, anyone can be a Spacer's Choice Consumer Relations Choice Specialist.
Not a lot of people are making fun of the corporate hell we're sprinting towards, and it's pretty refreshing. Hell, I know people personally that defend this game for this reason alone. It's a shame then that I'll call The Outer Worlds' actual story predictable and shallow. Not even worth talking about in depth. I'll go through the two big reveals in spoilers along with what kills their impact, but before that I want to go over the major problems it has throughout. Making a parody is hard. You have to understand the source material very well. What makes it click, what people like about it, and then also be funny on top.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring.
Or, if not comedic, then enhance that feeling the original gives you. It's not easy, and you think Obsidian are the people for the job? New Vegas being a great entry in the genre, and it already having pretty tongue-in-cheek and comedic writing to begin with. But with The Outer Worlds, they prove they're not, and I'm not even sure New Vegas wasn't a fluke. Sure, they can still pull off some comedic writing.
There are several reasons why someone would hire your services. In descending order of likelihood, they are as follows: desperation, confusion, mistaken identity, inebriation, and genuine faith in your abilities.
But here's the deal. The Outer Worlds' way of parody is by just acknowledging every single annoying trope of the genre itself. There's no romance because nobody quite pulled it off in any game like this, so it comes across as cringe, but instead of attempting to make it work, they hit you over the head with it in that Parvati companion quest. Like, look, there is romance in the game, just not for you, plebeian. You're an asexual, repressed piece of shit. Essentially just a DoorDash bag with legs. Ellie straight up mocks AAA games in that clip I've shown, but you can attribute that to this game and it suits it perfectly. Vicar Max not so subtly talking about the blank stares. The worst one is in the main campaign, where after doing a fucking death march of stupid fetch quests, you're tasked with getting outside of the main building and pulling a switch. You can keep this conversation going, asking about whether this is a trap to sucker you into more fetch quests, with the characters mocking you for being paranoid about it.
Don't be ridiculous. We're resetting a broadcast tower, not filing taxes. There are no errands, spreadsheets, or rituals involved. Eternal, no. What is wrong with you? Who would ever design something like that? However, you're welcome to brew me a Rizzo Insta coffee from the staff kitchen on your way back. Just step outside, flip the switch, depart forever. Understood? Good. Marvelous. We're in agreement.
There's also the issue with the framing of the game. You're essentially just a glorified lackey. You're a nobody, revived from cryostasis to get Phineas Wells the chemicals so he can do the real work. There's 2 side quests I found where another nobody asks you to go looking for his fucking lab rats. It's insulting. I can understand this in the beginning when you start out, but those quests are on Monarch in the middle of the game and on Byzantium close to the end. They also kinda inadvertently keep you down throughout with the shit reputation system. You can be the patron saint of a faction, saving them from genocide, starvation, or any number of apocalyptic events, but God help you accidentally click a candy bar on the desk. That's capital punishment territory with immediate execution to be carried out by anybody present. This is most definitely part of the joke and another parody of the tropes of the genre, but then they still make you do it. They acknowledge all of this inane shit that's staple in this genre and they make a bare bones, cookie cutter version of it while snarking. That's not parody, that's just being a douche. And then there's the tone issue, which is also where I'll talk about the 2 reveals, so if you don't want spoilers, go to here. I've mentioned this before as well, with the sad violin music and stupid jokes, but let's talk about those reveals. The first major one is when you get on the Hope and piece together what happened. The story itself is pretty good, if maybe a bit on the tropey side. The ship's skip module malfunctioned, so the last year of voyage had to be done normally, turning it into 26 years of voyage instead. This is corporate hell, so they only got food for the planned 10-year trip. They tried growing food in the hydroponics, but that didn't work, so another dude tried the people jerky instead. Fed some to the captain's wife, who now can't live with herself after being kind of into Little Timmy's delicious meat? The fuck? Backward savage captain deems cannibalism immoral and wrong, so he fights the enlightened rebels and presumably wins, since there's still people to save on the ship. And then everybody's still awake, starved, and died. The end. This is one of those types of stories that gets to me, slow group starvation, seeing how different people react as days go by, seeing who cracks. It's great storytelling. Too bad then that, instead of something cool like playing through it in a flashback, or as a Fallout 3 style intro, you just read about it in terminal entries on the ship, out of order. So imagine doing a stupid side quest like the Collect the Rats one, then coming to this and reading it on this derelict ship, with no music or anything, just straight up horror reading. One of those is getting undercut, and I wager to say it's going to be the one that you have to read. The other reveal is right by the ending, this time presented in a way better format. Fucking video recording.
Unfortunately, we've recently discovered that our food supply will not be able to sustain Halcyon's population in the long term. Everyone will die.
So it turns out the entire Halcyon system is completely unfit for human survival. All of the food being grown here, while edible, has a severe lack of basic nutrition, so while the people were filling their bellies, they were also slowly growing more and more malnourished. But communication with Earth is getting more and more rare. Not to mention, it takes a minimum of 10 years for cargo to arrive from there, provided they even send it in the first place and no unforeseen problems happen. So the board's plan is to freeze everybody in the system, much like the people on the Hope, while leaving only the elite and enough other people awake to run the infrastructure.
While Halcyon's brightest minds solve the problem of our nutritional shortage, the rest of the colony will be placed in suspended animation.
This should have been a highlight of the game, transcending its audience and stuck in people's minds forever as a staple of the genre. But instead, they treat it as a joke.
By testing paperweights. Sorry, couldn't resist. Let's go again.
And at this point, I've had enough and stopped playing. Let's wrap this up. Much like with New Vegas, the DLCs are highlights, and they solve a lot of the problems of the base game, mostly because of them being their own standalone adventures in separate areas of the game and having way smaller scope, thus allowing what's there to be more polished. They both have this noir mystery feel to them, so think parodies of Treasure of Sierra Madre for Perelon Gorgon, and pretty much anything made in the 40s for the other one. I have a feeling I won't be recommending The Outer Worlds, but if I did, or if you're a filthy rebel, I'd beeline the story to get here as soon as possible. Fallout New Vegas is an excellent game, and if you find the time to install the 258 mods necessary to run the vanilla game with only bi-hourly crashes, it's still one of the best in the genre, with top-notch writing, some amazing perks, great companions, some very neat and nuanced endings, and some of the best DLCs in the industry. Truly a gem yet to be fully bested. In contrast, The Outer Worlds is a disappointing open-world RPG. Even as a rabid, unreasonable fan of the genre that still buys every one of Todd's sweet little lies, and will probably do so until the day I die, I couldn't even get past the opening area when it came out and was dreading starting it up to play it even for this review. It's a huge shame, too, since it does have its charm, and I've had quite a few laughs at some of the dialogue. The companions are very endearing, and their quests are highlights of the game.
About that, we were just about to ask you to leave.
Despite them also being boring fetch quests. And boring is right. Boring combat, boring exploration, boring choices and nuance, and boring endings that cannot be carried just through good writing when it's that long. Especially when the writing itself is also at times boring and inconsistent. It will also be a permanent stain on my record as well, with being the only game that I haven't 100% completed on Steam before doing a review of it. I like to think that I'm gonna go back and correct this mistake at some point, and if I do, I will update you in the community post, but I wouldn't hold my breath. And with that, I'll see you next time.
Oh, Captain, you did it! My little boy is back, safe and sound. Tell the captain how grateful we are, Tuk Tuk.
Mama, I told you that I'm not staying.